हॅलो फ्रेंड्स, कसं चालू आहे अभ्यास? मस्त ना. चला मग आता पुढच्या भागाला सुरुवात करूयात. रिफ्लेक्स ॲक्शन अँड रिफ्लेक्स आर्क. यू मस्ट हॅव एक्सपिरियन्स्ड अ सडन विड्रॉल ऑफ अ बॉडी पार्ट which comes in contact with objects that are extremely hot, cold, pointed, or animals that are scary or poisonous. The entire process of response to a peripheral nervous stimulation that occurs involuntarily, that is, without central nervous system, is called a reflex action. The reflex pathway comprises at least one afferent neuron receptor or one efferent effector or exciter neuron appropriately arranged in a series. The afferent neuron receives signal from a sensory organ and transmits the impulse via a dorsal nerve root into the CNS, means at the level of spinal cord. The efferent neuron then carries signals from CNS to the effector. The stimulus and response thus forms a reflex arc as shown below in the knee-jerk reflex. You should carefully study, understand the mechanism of a knee-jerk reflex. Gray matter, interneuron, white matter, motor neuron, dorsal root ganglion, efferent pathway, afferent pathway, motor end plate, effector, muscle spindle receptor, stimulus response, sensory reception and progressing. Have you ever thought how do you feel the climatic changes in the environment? How do you see an object and its color? How do you hear a sound? The sensory organs detect all types of changes in the environment and send appropriate signals to the CNS, where all the inputs are processed and analyzed. Signals are then sent to different parts, centers of the brain. This is how you can sense changes in the environment. Sense organs. We smell things by our nose, taste by tongue, ear by ear, and see objects by eyes. The nose contains mucus-coated receptors which are specialized for receiving the sense of smell and called olfactory receptors. These are made up of olfactory epithelium that consists of three kinds of cells. The neurons of the olfactory epithelium extend from the
मेरा भाई तू मेरी जान है मेरा
The neurons of the olfactory epithelium extend from the outside environment directly into a pair of broad bean-shaped organs called olfactory bulb, which are extensions of the brain's limbic system. Both nose and tongue detect dissolved chemicals. The chemical senses of guttation means taste and olfactory means smell are functionally similar and interrelated. The tongue detects taste through taste buds containing gustatory receptors. With each taste of food or sip of drink, the brain integrates the differential input from the taste buds and a complex flavor is perceived. In the following sections, you will be introduced to the structure and functioning of the eye, sensory organ of vision, and the ear, sensory organ for hearing. Eye. Our paired eyes are located in sockets of the skull called orbits. A brief account of structure and functions of a human eye is given in the following sections. Parts of eye. The adult human eyeball is nearly a spherical structure. The wall of eyeball is composed of three layers. The external layer is composed of a dense connective tissue and is called the sclera. The anterior portion of this layer is called the cornea. The anterior portion of this layer is called the cornea. The anterior portion of this layer is called the cornea. The middle layer, choroid, contains many blood vessels and looks bluish in color. The choroid layer is thin over the posterior two-third of the air ball, but it becomes thick in the anterior part from the ciliary body. The ciliary body itself continues forward to form a pigmented and opaque structure called the iris, which is the visible colored portion of the eye. The eyeball contains the transparent crystalline lens, which is held in place by ligament attached to the ciliary body. In front of the lens, the aperture surrounded by the iris is called the pupil. The diameter of the pupil is regulated by the muscle fibers of iris. The inner layer is the retina and it contains three layers of neural cells from inside the outside: ganglion cells, bipolar cells, and photoreceptor cells. There are two types of photoreceptor cells, namely rods and cones. These cells contain the light-sensitive proteins called the photopigments. The daylight, photopic vision, and color vision are the functions of cones, and the twilight, scotopic vision is the function of the rods. The rods contain purplish red protein called the rhodopsin and visual purple, which contains a derivative of vitamin A. In the human eye, there are three types of cones which possesses their own characteristics photopigments that responds to red, green, and blue lights. The sections of different colors are produced by the various combinations of these cones and their photopigments. When these cones are stimulated equally, a section of the white light is produced. The optic nerves leave the eye and the retinal blood vessels enter it at a point medial to and slightly above the posterior pole of the eyeball. Photoreceptor cells are not present in that region and hence it is called the blind spot. At the posterior pole of the eye, lateral to the blind spot, there is a yellowish pigmented spot called macula lutea with a central pit called the fovea. The fovea is thinned out portion of the retina where only the cones are densely packed. It is the point where visual acuity means resolution is the greatest. The space between the cornea and the lens is called the aqueous chamber and contains a thin watery fluid called aqueous humor. The space between the lens and the retina is called the vitreous chamber and is filled with a transparent gel called vitreous humor. Mechanism of vision. The light rays in visible wavelength focused on the retina through the cornea and lens generate potential impulses in rods and cones. As mentioned earlier, the photosensitive compounds means photopigments in the human eyes is composed of opsin, a protein and a retinol, and aldehyde of a vitamin A. Light induces dissociation of the retinol from opsin, resulting in changes in in the structure of the opsin. This causes membrane permeability changes. As a result, potential differences are generated in the photoreceptor cells. This produces a signal that generates action potential in the ganglion cells through the bipolar cells. These action potential means impulses are transmitted by the optic nerves to visual cortex. Cortex area of the brain, where the neural impulses are analyzed and the image formed on the retina is recognized based on earlier memory and experience. आपला अध्याय इथेच संपला. उद्या नवीन एका अध्यायाला सुरुवात करू. हॅव नाईस डे, हॅव नाईस स्टडी टाइम. बाय बाय.